All right, I got pulled over. I heard someone yell, "Pull over!" Which isn't normally the way you get pulled over. So I looked over my left shoulder. I had to look all the way back to see them because I was on my bicycle. And they yelled it again, "Pull over!" And sure enough, the person yelling it is a real actual police officer. They had the mustache and everything, legit. But the reason they're yelling, "Pull over," is that they too are on a bicycle. I'm a comedian, I like to have fun. I thought about going, "Oh, no. I know how this works. You have to go, wee, wee." But then I remembered about cops having a great sense of humor. You know? So I skipped that and I went ahead and I pulled over. And the cop pulled his bike right behind me, just like he would do if we were in cars, with his little headlight shining on the back of my head. And he made me wait there a really long time. Now, I was on my way to a comedy show. I thought, this is cool, I'm in my own hometown, I can ride my bike to the comedy show, and now I'm sitting there with some guy shining his headlight on the back of my head, waiting, and thinking, what am I waiting for? Because if we were in cars, I would assume I was waiting while he ran my license plate through his dashboard computer. But we were on bicycles. So I had no license plates, and he had no dashboard. It's infuriating. And then I look and I see another bike cop come whipping around the corner. Very thin guy, we'll call him Officer Sunglasses. As he pulls up next to Officer Mustache, I thought, that's it. Back up. Because look at me. When I walked out on stage, the first thing you thought was, I would need some backup to tackle with that fella. He looks like one of those vegans. So now he's got his backup. The two of them do this awesome move. I mean, just badass. They both throw down their left foot and then synchronized, perfectly synchronized, swing their right foot over their bikes. It was everything I could do not to applaud. I was like, that was so cool! I know they learned that watching Chips. That was awesome. I love the idea that that's how bike cops bond. They watch Chips together and they're like, ooh, we should rehearse that. That was cool. I'm gonna get some glasses like that. Yeah. So they make their way up towards my bike, and the officer's sunglasses stops a few feet shy of me, puts his legs apart, and fixes me with a look that says we may soon have a failure to communicate. An Officer Mustache comes right up to me, and he says, "You know why I pulled you over?" Now, don't ever answer that. Because that's how they try to get you to confess. And maybe confess stuff that they didn't even know about. You know why I pulled you over? Was it the drugs in my pocket? I didn't think you could see those. What was it? I don't know. I said, no, man, I don't know. I don't know why you pulled me over, and I'm laughing. Started laughing. Did I mention I do that in times? In times of confrontation, I tend to laugh. And he says, "Something amusing?" Well, I learned a long time ago that when an authority figure hears me laughing and they ask if something's amusing, I can't tell them the truth. I can't say, no, this is actually respect. See, I have this thing, I'm a nervous laugher, and so this is actually me being afraid of you. It doesn't work. So, I have to think of something quick that's amusing. He says, "Find something amusing?" I said, "Well, just say we're both on bikes, right?" That's kind of funny. You know, it's like we're a couple of kids playing traffic stop. He doesn't like that. Thank you. I'm glad you did. He says, "I assure you, this is perfectly serious." And I can hear his teeth breaking and everything. And I said, "Hey, calm down." "Okay, you guys know? I didn't know." I thought I was going to teach you guys. You don't do that. You don't tell a cop to calm down. I had no idea. Any of you that didn't just gasp in horror, listen up. This is where you get your ticket's worth. Yeah, you don't tell a cop to calm down. It has the opposite of its desired effect. He says, I assure you I'm perfectly calm. He says, you were riding your bike on the K Street pedestrian mall. I was like, oh. Thinking, thank God you were there. I don't think I was. I think I was just crossing it. He says, do you have a driver's license? To which I reply, I'm on a bicycle. I don't need a driver's license. Because I'm already past making friends at this point. He says, do you have a form of identification? I said, yes, I do. And I, handed him my driver's license. He looks at it like it's amazing. And he says, you have any warrants for your arrest, Mr. Jensen? I start laughing again. And it's not the nervousness now. I'm like, do you have any warrants? No, I don't have any warrants, man. You busted me for riding my bike. This is not gonna be your big bust, You're not gonna end up in the documentary about the Zodiac killer, We knew we had him when he rode his bicycle on the K Street pedestrian mall. We moved in, waited for my backup, coolly asked him if he knew what I was pulling him over for. Is it because I'm the Zodiac killer? I don't know what kind of fantasy he had concocted. I was like, no, man, I don't have any warrants for my arrest. He says, we'll see. Then he goes back to his bike to call in my license number on his radio, find out if I have any warrants. His buddy in the sunglasses was still just standing there staring at me. And I started thinking, all right, I'm gonna at least, I'm late for my comedy show. I'm gonna at least get a good Facebook post out of this. I start composing tweets in my head. Then I think, man, I'd love to get this on Instagram too. Maybe I could sneak a picture. So I slide my phone out of my pocket, and I take a picture of Officer Mustache. And it goes well, uneventful. I give it a cute check, it looks good. Then I turn to sunglasses, and I go ahead and snap one of him too real quick. To which he says, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I was just taking a couple pictures to remember our special time together. He says, you can't do that. I was like, oh, okay, noted for future reference. Because I just did. It's too late to undo it. He says, give me the phone. I was like, oh, no, man. You pulled me over for riding my bicycle. No, I'm not a lawyer. I've never gone to law school. And these are the words that came out of my mouth. You just pulled me over for riding my bike. This is not a take my phoneable offense. You hear that one standing up in court, right? Your Honor, this was clearly not a take your phoneable offense. That's what I said. He says, give me the phone. I said, I'm not gonna. And I go to put it back in my pocket, and he reaches out and he grabs my wrist. And I yanked my arm away without thinking. Yeah, where's your ooh now? You don't do that either. Because you find out how strong the skinny cop is. Turns out quite. And he slams me on the ground, gets on top of me. I got a knee between my shoulder blades. My nose is bleeding. And Mustache goes ballistic. He goes full Barney Fife. He comes running over like doing a jig. Like, he's fighting. Like, brain short-circuiting. He's not helping in any way. Just like, he's fighting. As this is all happening, this is on the part of K Street where there's a lot of hotels and weddings and receptions happen. This photographer just happens to come walking down L Street and then comes around the corner and sees this, and he's like, oh my God, a Pulitzer! And he runs over, he starts snapping pictures. And he's not shy, he's getting right up in my face, and I noticed the cops didn't mind him taking their picture at all. They didn't ask for his phone. They were posing. They were like, get him with his eyes open, you know? Like hunters with a fresh deer. We're gonna hang this one back at the station. So I look up at the photographer and I say, my name is Keith Lowell Jensen, and I would really love to have these photographs. Not because I'm thinking of using them in court or anything, but because I'm a comedian and headshots are expensive. And if that picture was on the poster for tonight, we would have filled this place a lot faster. Imagine my face with the blood and the cop behind me smiling, like you'd be like, I need to know what this is about. Cop picks me up, and that's when Mustache gets in my face and he says, boy, are you dumb. I'm like, that's hurtful. He says, you're a big dummy. You're a big dumb. Now it's starting to sound kind of wholesome. I was like, these are his go-to insults. This is cute. Yeah. He says, I was gonna let you go with a warning. Yeah, but now you're under arrest. You're going to jail. How do you like that? You're under arrest and you're going to jail. I was like, I understand. But he said it one more time just for good measure. So I repeated it to him. I'm under arrest and I'm going to jail. Can I ask one question? He said, sure, what? And I said, how? It's fair, right? Because I've been arrested before, but never by a dude on a bicycle. I don't know how do I get on the handlebars? Are we gonna act out a scene from E.T.? What are we doing here? Don't make me run behind you, please. I'm not in good shape. We could ride bikes. That's fun. Let's go ride bikes. He says, we'll call a car. To which I said, oh my God, you have to call the car cops? That must be so humiliating for you. He stomps back to his radio and he calls the car cops, who drive their car right down the middle of the K Street pedestrian mall that I had so soiled with my bicycle tires. They park right on top of the light rail tracks. They come over, they're all, is that the guy? And I'm like, yeah, the bloody one in the handcuffs, that's the guy. I said, what are you gonna do with my bike? They said, we'll put it in the trunk. I said, well, you should probably take a look at my bike. Because I rode one of those big stretch dyno beach cruisers with the giant handlebars and the Springer forks because I was cool. And they look at it and they go, yeah, we're gonna have to call a truck. So then the car cops who'd been called by the bike cops called the truck cops, and then the truck cops came and drove right down the middle of the K Street pedestrian mall, parked on top of the light rail tracks behind the cop car. I've now started a parade. They come out and get my bike. I'm like, hey, bike, when you get to bike jail, pick the biggest bike there and just punch him in the face. Thought I sounded cool. Truck drives off, the car cops put me in the car, and the two bike cops run over to their bikes and they get in position like they're about to do the Tour de France. And the car cops look at them funny and get in the car, and as they shut the door, I heard the greatest line of the night. The driver turns back to me and he goes, hey man, don't you just hate bike cops? Like, I do! Oh my God. I said, I don't normally like you guys either, but my enemy's enemy is my friend. We're cool. The passenger cop says, you see what they're doing? I was like, I was wondering about that. He said, they're gonna race us to the jail. That's their big thrill in life. I was like, have they tried sex? This is a sad, lonely existence. The driver laughs. He says, well, you want to drive around a little bit? Keep him waiting? Mess with him? And I was like, yeah? Like, I had plans tonight, but I think they're canceled. Let's do that. That sounds good, man. You want to take me to a comedy show? Did I mention I was on my way to a comedy show? Well, it was cool. We had a good time. We drove up to Broadway, saw the historic cemetery. They had never seen it before. We saw the Christmas tree had gone up at the Capitol. It was a fun time, you know. We stopped by the California Museum, and they were having a Charles Schulz exhibit. You guys like Snoopy, right? We're sitting there looking in the window at all the Snoopy and Charlie Brown stuff, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger walks right in front of our car and goes into the building, and I turned to the two cops and I said, "This is the best night of my life." Like, you guys are awesome. So then we went back, straight back. We stopped for frozen yogurt, but only one topping. Gotta draw the line. We get back to the jail, and sure enough, there's the two bike cops. They're leaning against the wall waiting. They look at their imaginary watches. And the driver turns to me and he goes, "Listen, kid, I want to give you some advice." He says, when you get out there, calm down. I'm like, "Oh, you can say it to us, huh?" He says, "Seriously, these guys ruined your night already. They could ruin your month. They could ruin living in Sacramento. Like, they hold all the cards. And so it's in your best bet to just play along, get this over with quickly." I said, "Okay." It's good advice. So they let me out. I walk up to the bike cops. I immediately apologize. Say, "Guys, I'm sorry. I lost my temper out back there, you know, when they beat me up." So I lost my temper. My night didn't go the way I expected. I'm going to cooperate now. And Mustache looks at me and he goes, "Good. I hope we can be friends." And I went, "Yeah." Nervous. And then he goes, "All right, let's get you processed." And I was like, wait, you're still arresting me? Like, you are not being a good friend. This is not what friends do. You don't even know my safe word. You know, he's like, "Come on," I'm yelling, "Rutabaga! It's rutabaga!" I'm saying it. Brings me in, he processes me. I'm trying to get out of there. I don't want to stay, you know. So he says, "You got any medical conditions we should know about?" I was like, "Bingo, that's my ticket out." I said, "Yes, I have something called ulcerative colitis." "That's true, I do." He says, "Well, what's that mean?" I said, "It means that if I don't go home and get my drugs tonight, poop and blood everywhere. It's bad." "That's an exaggeration." He goes, "All right, we'll give you a yellow bracelet." It's like, "Oh, why didn't my doctor think of that?" Thank you. Sure, that will help. The bike cops took me and handed me over to the largest man I'd ever seen in my life up to that point. They handed me over to the jail cop. He looked like the boss battle at the end of a video game. He was like the big goblin guarding the inner sanctum of the jail, and I needed to get past him to get to my cell. They hand me to this guy, and I'm like, "Oh my God." And he walks me into where the cells are, and I've been in there before. I was like, "I can take it from here, you know." I start going back to where the normal cells are, but I walk past the drunk tank, and he goes, "Right here, buddy." And I was like, "Oh, wait, there's a misunderstanding. I'm not drunk. I'm the guy on the bicycle." He goes, "Yeah, but you got that yellow bracelet, so this is where you go." I was like, "Ah!" So that backfired. So they're gonna put me in the drunk tank. That was an experience I'd never had through my myriad times in jail. They opened the door to the drunk tank. The drunk tank has no nice metal benches to sit on. It's just got a low sidewalk around the perimeter of the drunk tank with a soft curb so we're not, you know, acting out. He puts me in the middle of the room, and then he says, "Sit down. In this cell, we sit." And I could tell it was his line, you know, because as he said it, he backs out of the cell. It was really cool. Like that. "In this cell we sit." So I look for a place to sit. I see some guy, and he's wearing plaid. Hat, shirt, shorts, shoes, but all different colors and sizes. None of it matched. I was like, that's a character. I'm gonna get a story out of this at least. Make it a work trip, you know? So I go over, I sit next to the dude. I was all, "What's up?" And he goes, "What time is it?" And I thought about it, you know, what time I was heading to the comedy show that I was trying to perform that night. Thought about how long we spent driving around, how long it took to process me, and I said, "I'm guessing it's around 9:30. And he goes, "Oh." And I said, "What's the matter, man?" And he goes, "Oh, my old lady. If I don't get out of here by midnight, my old lady is gonna sell my rims." And I want to relate to my fellow human, so I went, oh, why did they do that? Why? What is it with old ladies and rims? I can't tell you how many times I've had a perfectly good set of rims, and then the old lady comes along and bye-bye rims. Stop it, old ladies. Let a man have some rims. He scoots far away from me. Not buying my outrage. But just then, the door to the drunk tank opens again, and the largest man I had seen is back, but he's no longer the largest man I've seen because he has with him the new largest man I've ever seen in my life. And this man has no shirt on. He's just glistening with sweat. He looks like a bodybuilder. He's a beautiful, angry man. And the cop puts him in the middle of the cell, and he says his line, "Sit down. In this cell, we sit." And as he starts doing his cool backwards walk, the guy goes, "No!" And I went, "Ooh." I didn't know you could say that. And the cop is confused. He's never heard this before. Probably ever, you know. And he goes, "Sit down. In this cell, we sit." Thinking maybe just repeating it will work. And the guy says, "I can't sit. I'm drunk." And I see the two of them starting to huff up the way people do before a fight, and I don't want that to happen. And I say, "Officer, sir, maybe you should listen. You don't know where he's at in his spin cycle. It could be bad, it could be messy for all of us." You know, maybe let him stand. Cop says, "You shut up." He turns back to the guy, he says, "Sit down now." The guy says, "No." Cop puts one hand on his nightstick, he puts the other hand on his taser. The big dude starts flexing his booby muscles the way really large men can do. And the rest of us move to the far corners of the room. Because if these two men fight, we're getting hurt. If these two men fight, the building is getting hurt. This is like the final scene in a Marvel movie type scenario, and I don't want to be an extra in this film. But as a testament to how big and scary this guy is, the cop looks him up and down, and then to all of our amazement goes, "Yeah, okay," and starts backing out, and we all start applauding. Cheering, which the cop is not loving. The door shuts, we're all, "Woo!" And Rims immediately jumps on the dude. He's like, hey, what time is it?" And the guy looks at him and says, 2:00 in the morning. And Rims starts sobbing. The guy starts bawling, just tears streaming down his face. This is a man who is very attached to his rims. And I feel for my friend, you know? So I scoot over next to him and I go, "Listen, buddy, I had a comedy show that was gonna start at 8. And I was bicycling there with plenty of time." You know? And I tell him the whole story. I tell him about the Charles Schultz exhibit. He likes Snoopy too. We're bonding. He's starting to calm down. I said, "At this point, it's 10:15 at the latest. I bet you get out of here on time. You seem sober to me." And then I hear, "The hell did you just say?" A big man has been standing here the whole time. And I said, He says, "You telling me what time it is?" Did I mention I'm a nervous laugher? It's a thing I do when I'm in confrontation. I laugh. He says, "Something funny?" And I said, "Well, just that you said I'm telling you what time it is," which is an expression, but I'm literally telling you what time it is. Just a little wordplay. That was all clever, yeah. To which he says, "Oh, looks like we got ourselves a comedian." And I start roaring. Now just belly laughs. I'm just laughing really hard. And he says, "Now what's so funny?" And I said, I am in fact a comedian telling you what time it is. And that's how I'm gonna die has a poetic justice to it that I've made my peace with. Do with me as you will, sir. And he looks down at me and he thinks for a minute and he says, "Ha! That ha was the most beautiful sound I've ever heard in my life." Your guys' laughter tonight was a salve for my tortured soul. as it always is, but that ha was salvation. It meant I wasn't gonna die that night. And then big man sits down. I got him to do what the cop couldn't get him to do. The power of comedy. He sits down. He puts his arm around me, and Rim scoots in close to us too. We're like a family now. And he looks out over all the dudes in the cell and he goes, "Scoot on in, everybody. Mr. Funny Man here is gonna tell us some jokes." And I spend the next hour of my life telling jokes to drunk people, which is awesome because that's all I wanted to do with my evening to begin with.